Hello everyone and welcome back to the studio here in a beautiful sunny Northumberland day. And today I'm going to do an acrylic, but acrylics on paper, watercolour paper, £140 length and rough, the one that I normally use. But it's a bit different because I've been asked so many times. Where this picture is behind me, there was one there with horses galloping across a beach. Quite a few horses, about 4 I think, galloping on a beach. And I've been asked so many times, can I do something like that on YouTube? And I've always said no, because it will take too long. And it will make a full-length movie, a 2-hour jobby. But I figured out a way I can do a couple of horses on a beach for you, and that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm basing it on, I'll just show you the picture that was there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on here. But this is the one that was on there. And so, I'm just going to do you a couple of horses. So here we go with the drawing. I've taped the paper off. I'm just ready to go. And I'm going to press on really quite hard with my drawing, because I want to be able to see this when I've got the sky wash on. There's a figure, or a bit of a figure. And now starting with the horse. And these, I'm going to have these really gallop saddle. I've been a little bit quiet here because I am concentrating on this one. This is one that I'm having to actually think about. A foot there. I'm just going to elongate that leg a little bit more. And I'm going to have the light in this one. I've just decided as I was drawing it, I'm going to have the light in this one coming from the right. So it's just a little bit of tack showing there. Tack being all the leather work on the horse. And a few bits here and that. I don't like his knee. Just there. That's better. Now I'm going to have a line for my C there. They're on the beach, by the way. So that's a line for the sea and the beach. We'll have some about there, where the sea ends. And that, I'm just having a quick look now, see if there's any bits I don't like. And anything I don't like, I'm just hardening the pencil line a little bit more. That will more or less do, I think. Yeah, that'll do. No, it won't. I don't like that bit there. Curve that in a bit more. That's better. I'm fiddling. Yep, that'll do. Now here's something that you don't see me often do. Because Gail's just said to me, she who shall be obeyed, has just said, I don't like that horse's leg, it looks a bit spindly. So, okay, there we go. I'll change the way that horse's leg comes out. It'll come in like so. And we'll have it coming further forward. There's the kneecap, and there's the leg coming out with the hoof underneath. So there's the leg coming forward now, there, coming down, and then the hoof bent behind as it's running. Is that better, Gail?
It's better.
Okay. Now, as I always keep saying about Stay Wet palettes, if you haven't got yourself one, get one. Because they do save you so much paint. Because when you finish with acrylics at the end of it, you have to throw it away if you haven't got a Stay Wet, because it dries up. With this, you just keep it moist for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that's the one from the last acrylics YouTube video we made. So they just keep on going. And what I'm going to do with this, as I said, I'm going to treat it almost like watercolour. Plenty of water first. This is my 1.5 inch Aquafine brush, which again are watercolour brushes. And now you can see why I pressed on so hard with the pencil doing the drawing, so that I can, once I've got the paint on there, I'm still going to be able to see the drawing through the paint. Now, cobalt blue, a lot of titanium white. I don't want much of a sky in this one. Fairly non-committal sky. Plenty of water on that. And come all the way down. That's cobalt blue and titanium white mixed. And a very, very simple sky. A little bit more down there. That's better. Wash out, squeeze out, get rid of any open drips that are coming down, like those two there. And again, wash out, squeeze out, mop up. Now all I need to do is take out just a couple of wispy bits there. Like I said, a very, very simple sky, a non-committal sky in this one. It's just the backdrop. There's a dog hair. Frank and Bert get into everything. There you go. Go on. And again, mop up. And now I just need to let that dry for about 5 minutes. Now, the sky's nearly dry, but I can pop the sea in behind it. And then all the backdrop is done, and I can concentrate on the horses. And I'm just thinking, well, I'm looking at my colour mixers here. I'm telling you how long these have been on the go. This palette's been on the go. Still moist underneath, but you can tell how long it's been on the go because I started wearing away the paper, look, in my mixing area. So, now, for the sea, I've got cobalt blue with a touch of white into it and a tiny touch of hooker's green. That's too much green. There. Plenty of water into this. A bit more blue. A bit more water. And all I'm going to do, just with the sharp edge of my 3/4 inch brush this time, just go in there. Now coming a bit further forward, I'm leaving a few touches of white paper showing here and there. Bit here. It's easy enough to go around the horses when you're doing it like this, but I'm not that bothered if I go into them a bit because as long as I can still see the outline, the colour I put on top for the horses will cover up the sea behind it anyway. So you see little bits and pieces here and there when I'm going into it. Doesn't matter. I'll be covering up any other paint. Like so. And through there. I'm going through his tail there. I don't think he'll mind. And again, tap on here and there, leaving a few white bits. I should be adding white paint down here as well, because I'm going to have some splashy bits, technical term. Now, a little bit more water into the brush. No more paint, just more water. Move that around a little bit. I've gone through their feet there, that's fine. And that will do for that. Now once that's dried, I can start straight in on the horses. The sea is more or less dry. And that's the other thing about acrylics. I didn't really tell you that. Even if you're doing them on paper and you treated them like watercolour with lots and lots of water into the acrylics, unlike watercolour, you don't have to wait too long for one bit to dry before you can go in with the next bit, because it won't bleed up like it does with watercolour. And I don't know why, but it just doesn't. I'll just show you a quick little bit over here, look. Just here. Look, that's pretty wet there. So a bit of sky in that. Like so. Now, take out a cloud. Mop it up. Now, if I wanted some distant hills in there, you just see, well, you can see it's glistening. I've just put that on, it's still sopping wet through, so we'll have a bit of paint spray. And look, I've got plenty of water in that grey as well. You can still see that glistening, still sopping wet. There's distant hills. See? Now you can imagine if I did that with watercolour, that would be bleeding up into the sky. And with acrylics, there's a slight softening rather than bleeding up. Take out some light. There you go. Really not a problem. But I don't want to do that. We're with the horses. So now it's my number 8 round brush, and what I've got here is raw umber mixed with a touch of burnt sienna. Just a touch. And plenty of water into it. And I'm going to put light washes on the horses to start with, the base colour. And with my number 8 round brush, look, I get a lovely fine point to it, like so. A couple of ears. I'm going around the mane a little bit. Like that. And around the tack. And I've left the base of the nose. There's a reason for that. I'll think of it in a minute. Oh, the old ones are the best. Now with the rest of the body. And what's going to give this all its shape is all the darks and lights that I put on afterwards. But I'm just filling in. And any light that I want on these horses, I'm going to paint it on. I'm not just leaving paper showing through. There will be a few bits of paper showing through, but it's not for the light. And around his bum. And around and down. And that is the base wash on the first one. Now for the second one, that's what in horse terms, that's a light bay. That's the colour of it. I want this one to be redder, so I'm going to put more burnt sienna into that raw umber mix. And again, in with the ears. And this one will have a star on his face. It's called a star when you've got, or a blaze, when they've got a white bit on their front. And again, leaving out the front of the nose. The edge of the end of the nose, sorry. And come down. And it's all a bit samey, this, so there's not that much to say about it, to be honest, because I'm just filling them both in to start with. I've a little bit more water into that brush now. But you notice how much these brushes hold, by the way. And these are, strictly speaking, they're watercolour brushes, aquafine watercolour brushes. But I use them for my watercolours and for my acrylics. I'm not going to come all the way down to the base of his legs with this. And the reason why I'm not coming all the way down to the base of his legs is because he's going to have white socks. And round to his bum. And just through there, there's a bit of leg for the leg that you can hardly see there and there. Now, to the end of the noses, and what I've got a little bit of crimson and raw sienna. I'm just filling that in there. And there. And now I'll go to the base of the legs, just with titanium white. And there. And again, the beauty of acrylics is you can put light on top of dark. Like, I've just thought to myself, do I want this to have some white socks? Yeah. There. And there. First washes on the horses. Now, I'm going to start putting a darker layer on the horses here and there, but also a little bit of detail in them, like for instance the eyes and the nostrils. There's a bit of Payne's grey with a touch of burnt sienna into it, which will give me a black. There. What I'm going to do, just with the tiny tip of my number 8 round brush, just fill in those eyes there, but I'll leave a little bit of white in them. Like that. And they're not too close, so you don't need to go into too many facial features and everything. Now with the nostrils, want a little bit more water into the brush. They're slightly bigger there. And there. And to the edge there. Now, still with Payne's grey, I'm going to have black socks. These have got dark socks. That one there. And you normally find on a horse, when he's got dark socks, he's also got a very dark mane and tail. And down. And on the mane, for the main event, oh God, stop talking, Evan's just paint. Little blob there. And there. And on the tail. Bit more water. You see what I'm talking about now? How this paint will cover up where I've gone through, like the bottom of the tail there, look. There, like so. Got the tail there as well. mane. And just a tap on there. Now, I want some bits of tack before I start going into the shadows and light on the horses. And so I'm going to my rigger brush, number 4 rigger brush, and we'll have a really dark brown tack. So there's my raw umber again, this time with Payne's grey into the raw umber. There. Just bring some bits around. Bit coming down here. I know what tack looks like and where it goes, but if you don't, just Google it. There's everything on Google these days. There's the rain coming out, fairly taut rain there. And just a little bit around here. Girth strap there. And the same on the other one. There. And again, rain. Now there's more to do on that, but now, actually girth strap, but now, before I go any further with all that stuff, I'm going to start and put the light and shadow into the horses. And it's that that brings these to life. I'm going to start off with a little bit of raw sienna and Naples yellow mixed. Fairly light that. Plenty of water there. And we'll have a bit around the bum. Bit on the belly there. Bit on there. And a bit on the neck. I'm just thinking about where they're going to glisten a little bit with the light coming from the right. And this will be accentuated by the dark that I'll put in a minute. And I'm also putting a few touches in the face as well, look. Now soften here and there. Just with a clean, wet brush. And now it's into the darks. Payne's grey for this. I'm just going to use Payne's grey. inside the hind leg there. And just think about the shape of the beast now, round the ankles, the knees, sorry. In between the leg and the chest. And you've got quite a lot of muscle in the chest. Then bring that down the leg. And that leg's curving around there. And the hoof. And again, muscle here. The knee. There. You see how this starts to make a real difference now. Underneath the head, there's going to be shadow there. Now you can see why I only painted a bit of the tack down there. Darkening that a bit more, and in there. Now I'm going to put more water into that same colour, the Payne's Grey, and just add a bit here. And onto the head as well with that. I just want to move that out a little bit into the leg here. There. I'm still going around here and there with the shadow mix. Sorry, shadow mix, it's just Payne's Grey. Around here a little bit. I'll actually have a little bit of that on there as well. Yeah. Probably a little bit too big, that. That's better. On to the other horse. Well, I'm in with that colour. Start off and get a little bit on his head. Bring that down a little bit now. And again, underneath the head, nice and strong there. Whilst I'm in with that, I may as well, even though I haven't started on the riders yet, I'll just stick his foot in there. And bring him down. Now nice and dark underneath the belly. And round. Lovely rounded belly. And that leg at the back, keeping that a little bit darker as well, just there. But like a diagonal line coming down there, look. And then carry on down. So that light's just hitting that bit of leg. Now I'm just going to soften that slightly there, look. Just with a clean damp brush. I really don't like his face. There. The eye is too high. The eye is too high. So I'm going to change it. Bit of raw umber and paint spray so it's darker. Bring that down a little bit. Now, I'm just going to go in with black again, Payne's Grey and Burnt Sienna mixed. And redo the eye, just there. There. I like that a bit better now. Yeah. And again, a bit round the nose. Now I'm just going to darken in the chest muscles. My dogs are murdering someone, or threatening to. Or should I say, threatening to lick them to death. That will more or less do for those. A bit darker just there. There. Now, with my rigger brush and just titanium white, I'm just going to do a semicircle there, look, for the bit in the horse's mouth. It's a little bit. Oh God. A few touches of white here and there. Now, I've more or less finished with the horses. I might touch up a few areas here and there when I've finished, but into the riders now. And I've got Payne's Grey and Burnt Sienna mixed again. So I've made a black. And just a couple of riders' hats there. Like so. And again, this is all with my number 8 round brush. So it just goes to show you don't need tiny brushes for everything all the time. Coming around. And whilst I'm in with the black, I shall do their boots as well. Riding boots are so difficult. I've always found riding boots really difficult to get off once you've got them on. When you're a bit sweaty and your feet or your legs are a bit damp inside riding boots, trying to get them off because they're made to fit tight anyway. And excuse my French, but they are a bugger to get off. on there. I'm just filling in. And again, filling that. And of course his heels down in the stirrup. Don't ride with the heels up. And the same on that one. Toe up in the air, heel down. What colour clothes shall they have on, Gail?
A green top on one and a red top on the other.
I thought you were going to say red. I've run out of red in my palette.
Yellow.
Nah, it's alright, we'll do red. Wouldn't dare go against you. So, green on one, yeah? We'll have green and burnt sienna mix. A darker green. There. And a bit of wobbly on the arm, ruckles in the sleeves or whatever. Down there. And again, wobbly bits on the outer edge. I can do that naturally, especially after red wine. Wobbly bits are dead easy. And red on the other one, you said?
Yeah, burnt sienna.
Burnt sienna, that'll do. Save me going back in my box and getting red out. Bit of burnt sienna. Just burnt sienna by itself. Well said, girl. Well said for compromising. Bring that down. Carefully around the ear. And they're both going to have white joppers on. So, joppers are riding trousers, by the way, just in case you didn't know. Just titanium white on those. And again on that. Now, whilst I'm in with titanium white, I want a couple of strokes of that on the outer edge of the boot there. A bit there. And a bit on the hats. Now, just with a clean wet brush, soften the white there. That hasn't softened, it's dried that quickly. So I'll just go back in with a touch more black there. That's better. Now, a little bit of flesh tone, a bit of burnt sienna, bit of yellow, bit of Naples yellow will do for that. There. For the arm, that's a bit dark, but it'll be right. And the face. Again that, which are going to be in shadow again anyway in a minute. Now, actually I have a little bit of white on the shirt there. Now in with shadow on those as well. Actually I'm going to put a tiny touch of very weak white just over that arm there. That's better. A little bit of blue to start with, cobalt blue. Just on the, and it's got plenty of water in this, just on the inside of the jumpers. Because of course, anything white in shadow have some blue in it. And now for some nice dark stuff. Bit of Payne's grey and a little bit of cobalt blue mixed. Plenty of water. We're going to have that underneath here. And on that side of the body. Inside that arm there. Very simple figures. And again, a little bit underneath there. And in the body. That needs to be a little bit stronger, I think. That's better. And that will more or less do for the figure as well. Now onto bits of saddle. So we'll have some raw umber and Payne's grey mixed. And you're not going to see too much saddle there. A little bit there. A little bit in there. And the same one there. Now for their mats, which go underneath the saddle, and these, the mats, are called numbners. You see, you get a costume lesson as well in this. I've got a little bit of cobalt blue and burnt sienna mixed. Put that there. Now, where the feet are, I'm going to have a little bit of white for the stirrups. So back to my rigger brush for a second, and it's just a semicircle there, look, coming around there, and underneath there. That will do. Now, that's more or less those done really. I want a little tip of white just on there. On my eye. There. I might just add a little bit more shadow on the right hand horse. Just round here, look, there. And yeah, I do like that better now. Yeah, that's better. I've just dripped there. So now, I've finished with the horses and the riders really. So it's this foreground bit and some splashy bits as well. Very, very simple. And it's back to my 3/4 inch flat. Actually, I think this is the first time I've used it, is it? No, I used it for the sea as well. So back to my 3/4 inch flat, and I've got a little bit of raw sienna and a little bit of Naples yellow mixed. Bit of that, bit of that. Just pop that on there. Bit more water. Just for a bit of beach there, look. Don't want much. These are the easy bits. Once you've done your fiddling around with the horses and the riders, this is the bit where you get reward for it. A little bit of raw umber now. Just a few touches here and there. There we go, wash out, squeeze out, tap on. Very, very simple. Now titanium white and a touch of blue. There's my blue. There's a lot of white. We'll have some of that here. A bit more water. And coming underneath them. A little bit more water again. Smoothing out there. Very, very simple. Now I just need that to dry for a couple of minutes. Not be totally dry, but just be a little bit drier than it is. So I'll just give that a couple of minutes. When I say I just need that to dry, it doesn't mean to say I've got to stop. While I'm waiting, I'll just add a few more bits of shadow into the figures here and there. Basically, it gives me time to fiddle. You know what I always say, don't fiddle, and I'm fiddling. That's better. So now, actually, no, I'm lying. A little shadow on there. And a little bit there. So now, back to the C bit, and I'm going back to my 3/4 inch brush. Make sure it's good and clean. Well, as clean as it ever is. And I'm going to get titanium white, just titanium white, look, and split the brush. Look, well split. Just stippling. It's very effective. Don't go bonkers with it. Like all effective techniques, people say, oh, that's good, I'll have some more of that. And you end up with no horse left, you've covered it all up. And a final bit of shadow. Oh, Payne's grey again. A little bit of burnt sienna, but a lot of water into it. Actually, no, I'll change that. I'll have violet and a bit of Payne's grey. Just check that first. More Payne's grey. Yeah, that'll do. Now more water into that mix. Oh, needs a bit of shadow there, look. Now, I'm just going to, with my finger, a bit of digital art, soften that in. And there we go. Horses on the beach. And there we go, a fairly colourful picture of horses on the beach. But as it was being done, you will have gathered just how important the dark is, no matter how light you want to make the painting. Dark enhances the light and also gives you the shape. You saw when the dark went onto the horses how suddenly they start to come alive because of the shape that it's given them. The paper I've used, £140 Langton Rough, very, very good paper, and this is what I use all the time. We sell it in two sizes, Langton Rough, and it's got a lovely tooth to it, as you can see. I use it for my acrylics and obviously for my watercolours. The paints I've just used, System 3 paints, Dale Rowney, System 3, lovely yummy paints. And those are £2.70 on my website for a big tube like that. And they do go quite a long way. But System 3 has got such a lovely texture, it's so smooth and lovely when it goes on. Anything you want to know about acrylics really, well, a lot of things, you can't cover everything in one book, but a lot of things are in the Acrylics for the Absolute Beginner, which is a book I did a couple of years ago, and that one's a worldwide bestseller because it teaches people to paint in acrylics. And this is the book. There. Acrylics for the Absolute Beginner. You've got quite a lot of projects in there, which you've got the tracing for as well in the book. There, got tracing for, which pull out. But lots and lots of projects, and all stage by stage. Acrylics for the Absolute Beginner. It's a lovely book. I'm really quite pleased with that one. There aren't any horses in there, but it teaches you how to use acrylics. One that has got horses in. This is a watercolour book. You can use the same techniques. But you just can't paint the light onto the dark as much. And that, oh, I just opened it at that page. And that's got a page on doing horses. Project on doing horses. Oh yeah, it's all in there. So have a look on charlesevansart.com. I hope you've enjoyed this one. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.